Making a mess now. Hello Beauty Squad, it's your girl Tanya, aka TeeTee. Welcome back to my channel of all things life, love, and beauty. And as you know, on Mondays we talk really love and relationships. And today is no different. And what makes these talks special? Because they involve martinis. I have such a concoction that I put together. It's just so good. It's just so good. I mean, I could probably literally drink it out of here. But anyway, thank you for joining me on episode 3 today. And we're going to talk relationships today. I've gotten a lot of comments, some great feedback. Love to hear your thoughts. And, you know, since the last episode, a lot of people say, you know, let's talk relationships. Let's talk relationships. And what that means to you or to me, because to each of us, it definitely means something different. And, you know, there's, you know, I'll say the 5 essential basics of a relationship, and we'll discuss that, and then I will elaborate on that. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You're already here. Tell your friends. We talk relationships, love on Mondays on TeeTee's channel. It's Martini Monday. Let's get your martinis together and let's talk relationships. Definitely one of my favorite topics. Let's get started. Okay, so, you know, and all of this is strictly, when we talk, you know, love and relationships, this is just strictly my opinion, my experience, and a combination, you know, of the two. So when you think of relationships, you know, there's 5 things to me that come to mind. Communication, trust, love, respect, and let's just attention, right? And that's just, you know, what you make it, all of those. But I think relationships that I've learned, and this is 50-year-old Tanya talking, that it's much deeper, you know, than that. Being married now almost 3 years and really learning to just learn freely. And I tell you, I've had a handful of boyfriends in this lifetime, and my husband Chocolate has definitely been the first relationship where I learned to love freely, be in a relationship, you know, freely. And it's taught, you know, me a couple things, you know, so we'll delve into that. So, you know, I'm gonna say, and you know, again, this is just my experience, just Tanya's opinion. It's not validated. I haven't written a book, even though friends tell me I should, but I haven't. And maybe one day I will. But and here's some pointers, you know, I would suggest. Be together for the right reasons. And I say that meaning everybody wants to do the right thing. Everybody wants to be with the right person for the right reasons. And an example would be, don't get married because somebody got pregnant. Because if you weren't thinking about it beforehand, a baby shouldn't be the reason why you do that. But that's just me, because I get it, because you're trying to do the right thing. Completely understand that. Another example would be when I say be together for the right reasons. You know, don't give in to peer pressure. Don't be with someone because you feel that you need to be with them, or you need to be married, or whatever, you know, the case may be. And all this boils down to is be with someone simply because you love being with them. You love being in their presence. And, you know, again, only being married 3 years, you know, my husband hasn't worked my nerve, you know, or anything, you know, like that. So, you know, I can say, you know, I love being in his company. One other second piece of relationship advice is, you know, I'm going to say have real expectations about relationships and romance. And, you know, let's just say, you know, example of that is every day in the relationship is not going to be a happy one. So you need to come to that understanding that every day is not going to be rainbows and unicorns. You know, to the point where you're like, damn, your ass is still here. I've been in those relationships. and that's when you know it's time to get out. I made some notes. So if I keep looking down, I just made some notes. And you have to understand that setting a realistic expectation means that, you know, ultimately love will expand and evolve and deepen over time. And it's not going to be how it used to be. And I think once you come to that realization and that conclusion, you know, between the two of you, then you'll be in a better situation. So, of course, you know, when you have hooded eyes, things just don't always come out the way you want. But you can fix it. Let's see. Third caveat. Respect is the most important factor. And I don't think there's anyone that would probably tell you otherwise in a relationship. You know, don't talk madness or about your partner to your friends, because they will use that shit against you. I guarantee it. And, you know, let's just be honest. Family, too, could use it against you. So, you know, whom you should be talking to about your relationship is the other person in the relationship. That's who you should be talking to. And I'm not saying that you can't bounce something off someone that you know that you trust and you value your opinion and their advice. You just can't tell everybody. You cannot share your relationship and what takes place in it with everybody, because everyone does not need to know. And again, you might get mad at that person, or they're going to get mad at you, and I guarantee you they're going to use it against you. All right. Third caveat. Let's see. No, that was 3. So let's go into 4. Some notes. I told you notes because I'm a notorious student. And this is an important one, and one that I'll admit my husband struggles with at times, is giving each other space and not always doing things together. So before I got married, you know, I was a single woman in LA, you know, had my own home, you know, friends, hung out, you know, with family, you know, things you do pretty much on a regular basis. I don't mind going to a restaurant by myself, you know, eating by myself, going to a movie, anything like that. And sometimes just because I'm married doesn't mean that I still don't like to do those things. And you should. I think we all need time to ourselves. So every now and then I want to go makeup shopping or to the mall just to walk around by myself. He's like, you don't want me to go with you? And I don't always directly say no. But, you know, he's just kind of like, I can tell his feelings are hurt. But I think now he gets it and he understands it. That, you know, everything that we do doesn't always have to be together. Even though 90% of the time we do most things together. You know, there's, you know, those 10% times, you know, when, yes, you want to do something by yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that is part of building up the relationship and building up that bond and that trust that you need going forward in order to do something like that. But for me, it expands simply because, again, a single woman living together for, you know, by herself for so long, you become super independent. You don't rely on a lot of people, let's just say men, for a lot of things. And that just becomes your new normal. So it's okay to not do things together all the time. It's quite all right. Fighting and forgiveness. This is going to happen in any and every relationship. And whether you argue, I mean, you start physically fighting, Ike and Tina, it's probably time for your ass to get out of it. And because no relationship should ever get to that point. And if it does, you should probably reevaluate it and wonder why, you know, we are fighting, or, you know, people say that's just love and that's how we express ourselves. That shit ain't love. I'm sorry. Love should not be physical in any sort of way. And, you know, people say, oh, you know, you bring that out in me. No, if you love someone, it should just flow. You know, you're going to get mad, you're going to argue, but another thing is, you know, when you're married, his ass ain't going anywhere and neither are you. So you've got to learn forgiveness. Now, Chocolate and I don't argue a tremendous amount. We have disagreements. We'll hash it out and he'll get mad and I'm just kind of like, you know, kind of deal. But we work through it and we get through it. It's all about forgiveness, because at this point, it's like, I really don't have time to be angry or mad at him about anything, because there's really nothing groundbreaking that we're going to be mad about other than typical relationship or marriage, you know, stuff. TeeTee, you buying too much makeup. And I'm like, well, hell, you go to Bass Pro Shops too much. You know, you're always ordering something from Amazon, you know, so it's going back and forth. But we definitely forgive each other, you know, as much, you know, as often as we can. And just don't take the shit personal. Just don't take it personal. Just don't, because it's not so much as about you or him, it's about both of you. So that's what I mean by not taking things personal. Okay, next piece of relationship advice is, you know, you're dating someone or you're married for X amount of years, and, you know, things can get, you know, old, stale, you know, and what have you. And there's a reason, you know, couples, you know, have date nights and all that stuff like that, especially when you have kids, because it's harder to spend, you know, enough time together. But, you know, Chocolate and I, you know, he was on vacation a couple months ago, and he came up to my office on a Friday, and we just randomly went to lunch. And we still, you know, will have those random lunches. We still go to dinner, and we do all these things pretty regularly. And it helps definitely to break up, you know, whatever routine, you know, you're in, because relationships, marriages, everything is, your day-to-day, you know, is all about routine. And you want to try to break it up sometimes, you know, and do the things that you used to do, you know, before you got married. So, you know, we still go out to a good party. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm definitely the party animal between the two of us, because that's just me. I've always been about having a good time. Let's go out. Let's hang out all night long. You know, I'm so all over that. He, on the other hand, is very opposite of me. And that's another thing I will tell you too, is it's okay to not have someone or be with someone who's not exactly like you. Because if you know yourself like I know me, if I dated someone just like me, we probably would never have a whole lot, because I spend money as soon as I get it. Don't get me wrong. My bills are paid, you know, and on time and all that. But any extra money I get, I'm spending it. Derek is Chocolate. He's definitely way more conservative than I will ever be in this lifetime. And how, you know, me, I don't mind spending $1,500 on a purse. I haven't done that in recent years, but there was a time when I did. You know, he doesn't quite get that, how I could spend $500 on a wallet. And you know, it's someone that was like me, that didn't have a problem spending like I do. We probably wouldn't have anything. We probably would be broke, I'd say. We probably wouldn't have a house. We probably wouldn't have a whole lot. We'd have the bare minimum that you could probably get through to survive. And, you know, set expectations as well too for yourself in the relationship. Don't get hung up, and I know we women get hung up on dates and times, and if this is not done by a certain time, or if that's not done by a certain time, then, oh, he must not love me, this relationship isn't going anywhere. You find all that out ahead of time, you know. And there I go with the you knows. You find that out ahead of time and make your determination how far you think you want this relationship to go. You have to have those upfront conversations, you know, not just with yourself, but with your potential partner. as well too, because if you guys want different things, you know, that could get a little sketchy, you know, at some point in the relationship. So you really kind of want to hash those things out in the beginning, but you still want things to progress. And that ultimatum shit never works, ladies. It has never worked. The 2 or 3 times I did it in this lifetime, this shit never worked. It hasn't worked and it's not going to work. And if a guy does give into it, he doesn't mean it. And that is the bottom line. Again, and I'll go back, don't pressure someone into doing something that they don't want to do. If you don't want to be with me, then I'm going to leave. They stay and they're probably with you for the wrong reasons. They'll probably continue to cheat or whatever it is, you know, they were doing before. I think I'm going to add some lashes today. Because we're actually going somewhere. And you definitely don't want to do that. So it's okay if someone is not exactly like you, but you still need to be compatible. And I'll tell you, pay attention to the signs. If that fool is cheap, meaning he takes you to Wiener Schnitzel, like my cousin told me a guy took her to Wiener Schnitzel on a date, that's a sign that is a cheap ass man, and you probably do not want anything to do, because nothing worse than a cheap man. That is just, you know, all bad. Take heed to the signs, ladies. They are there for a reason, and the signs, the red flags, and sometimes they're very obvious, and sometimes they come out later, but pay attention to them is all I can say. And when you see them, address them. Do not bring them up later and start stacking up all the red flags and you hit them with them at the same time. Address them as they come up, because it will come out in an argument and it's not going to come out pretty. and I'll say, don't ever stop doing the little things, you know, that you did for each other once before. I'll admit, we don't do everything we used to do that, you know, we did in the beginning. But, you know, when it comes to birthdays, anniversaries, things, you know, like that. And we're big on cards. So we definitely give each other cards on any occasion, Christmas, whatever the occasion is. And I still spray my cards with perfume for him, because I did that in the beginning and I still do it now. And he's like, oh, it just smells so good. It smells like you. And he absolutely loves that. Still try to do those little things you did once. You're not going to do everything, but do what you can, because it will ultimately make all the difference. And that is such a big deal to him, because even as we just celebrated Valentine's Day, I sprayed the card and he was more happier about that than probably the card itself. And even though it was a nice card, but he was happier about the fact that I still sprayed it with perfume, and he loved that it's those little details, and he loved that. He absolutely, it's the little things that make us all very happy. And then lastly, I will say, don't take each other seriously. Between my husband and I, on so many levels, we do not take each other seriously. It's like, for real? Is that what we're doing? You know, right now, today, in the present, that's what we're doing? Because you can get caught up. And that goes back to that whole fighting and forgiveness thing. You're taking things personal. Stop taking shit so personal, because it's not always about you. And again, that comes in time, for certain and for sure. But we don't take each other seriously. And I think that definitely helps us as we progress through life together, through our relationship together, and more importantly, through our marriage together, is we can laugh at each other. I laugh at myself more than he probably laughs at me. And he says some of the craziest things, and I call his terms Derekisms, and he's got 3 that I will share at a later time that are just super funny. And when I bring them up, it brings up a great memory. We can remember exactly where we were when he said those Derek-isms. And, you know, some people might not take that too well. Like, you're making fun of me? Yeah, I am. Making fun of your ass because the shit was funny. Don't take each other so seriously. Have a good time in the relationship, and it will just help the two of you progress. So let me add these lashes because it's going to take a minute for me to do this, and I'll come back with some final thoughts and we will wrap up. Stay tuned. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on relationships as it relates to this conversation. Relationships are what you make them, and they are what you put into them. Therefore, what you put into them is what you're going to get out of it. Set expectations for you and your partner. Put it all out there. Don't settle for someone just because you think that they're this or they're that, or they're going to change. We know people don't change, and if they do change, it's temporary. It's temporary. You have to do whatever makes you happy. Put your happiness first, and then everything else will fall into place. And that's been some of the best advice I've been given, and what I ultimately live by really is I need to do what makes me happy, what makes our relationship happy, what makes it better, and more you know, have fun with it. And more importantly, like I said, do not take yourselves seriously. And I mean that in every sense of it, because if you can't laugh at yourself or your partner, there's just no need. Have fun with your relationship, and when you see it going south, bring it up, address it. And when things don't look right, smell right, taste right, pack your shit and go. You know, that's the best I can tell you, but that's also 50-year-old Tanya talking. And I would say for me, if I wasn't married, that is how I would live. And as someone who dated for years, and you learn something, you know, from each date. Each guy teaches you something, not just about you, yourself, but about men and how they are. You want to be treated with respect, with dignity. And if you don't get it, get your ass out of it, because it's not going to get any better. And that's just my advice, and that's all I can tell you. There's more to come because relationships are ongoing. They're forever changing. Nothing stays the same forever, but more importantly, be who you are. Be with someone who allows you to be yourself, and they can be, you know, themselves as well too. You bring that together and it should mesh well, and it should work. When it turns to arguing and fighting all the time and demeaning and not being respectful, pack your shit and go. I mean, that's just keeping it a thou wow. My hair is messed up, I can see it. You know, that's just keeping it a thou wow, keeping it real. You know, if it doesn't ultimately make you happy deep down, because you know it, you feel it, you know it deep down, if something doesn't make you happy, pack your shit and go. It ain't worth it. It's so not worth it. Do what makes you happy first, and then everything else will follow. That's the best TeeTee could tell you today on Martini Monday. I'd love to hear your comments, your suggestions, your thoughts, you know, what you have experienced, because as I said, relationship, love, and life is ongoing. It changes, and it absolutely doesn't stop. And it doesn't stop when you get married either. So let me know what you guys think. I love this conversation that we're having. I'm trying to be as real and honest with you as I can be. And there's a lot more to cover. Ladies, until our next Martini Monday, make it a good one, ladies. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. I'll see you next Monday.